Okay. If we're looking for trade Monday, Tuesday, main focus, I would say just becomes a spike base from, what is that? Thursday? Spike base Thursday, inside day Friday. Pretty straightforward. I would not be attempting longs like anywhere under 57.50. Right. Just let it trade down to 5,700. We can get rid of that level now, so we can probably trade down to it. And then upside level. If we do somehow start getting above, I don't think it does. But that, right, this was really the place I was looking to short Friday into the weekend, but I just had to sleep in Friday and woke up when we were trading down 57.80s already. So I don't know if we're gonna get another test of it. I doubt it. I think it's just gonna be weak into the election. So maybe a slow start to the week for me. You can even break this down and don't know if you want to focus on this spike base. I think this one's a little more important. So, perhaps maybe you do end up getting some rotational action here, just within the range of these last 2 days, and maybe we do find a bid here, which is possible. Just rotate within this and until the election. That's entirely a possibility. I don't think it happens. I think you do break down to finally go test that. That last FOMC, right? Basically 5,700. I wouldn't really worry too much about this balance low, right? Unless you do something like a look below and where you can reclaim and get long somewhere here. Wouldn't really pay attention to that. Right, and I think upside levels are pretty straightforward. All we really just focus on is what we've been talking about the last month, right? Each time you trade into one of these, all we really have to focus on is that extreme low, extreme high, and then right where that value starts kicking in, right? So maybe this one is a little harder to distinguish. Maybe it's pretty darn close to your balance low. Right, that's sort of why I had that level 35 I had going into Thursday. I actually got long off of it for a nice swing long. Right, it was essentially bottom tick. Right, and then this one this balance size sort of lines up with sort of this bulk of the balance low, sort of starts kicking in here. So same levels up above us. The areas that you're shading are you mean that are shaded for me here? No, not necessarily. This is just sort of where the shelves end up being. I prefer paying more attention to the shelves itself, where the volume actually tapers off. I never really care about the actual value area low, value area high, unless it lines up with something else, right? Then I'll just mention it and call it as it is. But and for the most part, where volume starts to taper off, typically ends up lining up with that. That's sort of why when I do my levels, it sort of lines up with that, but sometimes it doesn't, and I prefer paying attention to where the specific shelf is, right? Like in this instance, in this balance up here, I'd watch this more. I'd pay more attention to this more so than I would to value area low, right? But obviously value area low here sort of makes sense only because this is where your gap is, right? the shelf itself is, I think, gives you a more accurate level. It gives you a more decent reaction. Like this 37, this 35 level ad was just the lowest most shelf. Right, we had it marked off on the sell-off day. I had a limit long there on Amazon reported, I think, and got filled, right, with like one tick drawdown. We caught a nice, I caught it up to 80. Didn't really catch the high because I was sleeping in. Didn't play with too much size, but so I prefer the shelf itself. So yeah, I mean, upside levels I think are pretty straightforward. Right? You know, the gap there at basically 45. And a couple extension targets above. You know, typically just looking at this profile alone, just these two sessions, I'd be all over this dip here. But given the context we're in of losing this and accepting back into this, going into election, you know, this is not something I will blindly bid. Can you for a scalp maybe during Sunday or Monday? Sure. But, you know, I'd be more interested in an offer during the RTH that comes up into that and ultimately fails. Right. So that's it on ES. You know, NQ sort of doing something similar. Little more tricky only because the last 2-3 weeks you've had more strength in your Mag 7 and NASDAQ than you have in your ES and SPY. So the daily chart, they haven't really made new all-time highs yet. All you're doing is back down to this freaking high volume node here, right? The point of control up here. Right, year-to-date point of control still down here. You're gonna 50 and 100 up here. Roll gap essentially filled on the first day. Still down there though. You got the shelf there at 60s, which is like the first main downside target. So going into at least Friday, I sort of put out a little image of what I thought was going to happen into the election. It was basically just something like we trade down to this and get a pop, or we just wick below this point of control and sort of trade down to this shelf here at, I think, 950, like that specific level, 940, 950, and get bid off of there. But you know, all of them was essentially either a long off of here, long here, or a rejection as you trade into this double distributor, this little gap with the double distribution, which was Friday's high, to short it down to this, right? Which is sort of what's going on, at least for now. So first main big downside target, I'd say obviously 950. Right, if we want to maintain within this balance up here, I think 950 should bid. If not, right, I think we just think buyers wait till we see a reaction off of this big shelf here. Below and nothing really for me to get involved within here except until we trade down to here. You know, I just take it level to level, right? So these are really the only little places I'm paying attention to, right? If we are trading down. I mean, when we do levels on the weekly or on the daily chart like this, right, you get your bigger overall picture, sort of the idea that you want to see play out, but then you go down into each session's TPO and sort of merge and combine balances together, sort of get some more accurate levels, and then you can fine tune your entries based off of that. And then if you're good at order flow, if you have a specific entry model, you wait for that, and what rest is history. Kind of that's how I end up playing it. Bigger picture idea is really not much. I am the plan really hasn't changed in a long time. Because all we've done the last 3 weeks is trade up here. All right, so these were your two little separate balances. I'm gonna unmerge them just so you guys can see. Let's see if your roll gap here. This was your FOMC day. The point of control has not been tested yet. All right, and then I just start merging balances together. Right, this one, and then we had these 3 sessions, which I considered sort of the balance break, only because ES was breaking out of the balance and NQ was breaking away from the bulk of value here. Right, which ended up giving us something like this, popping for a session and then failing. Right, so just merge. So maybe let's just include these 3 with these. Right, and we get something like this. So immediate focus, inside day. Inside day, you have a big spike here. Sort of coincides with the lower distribution from Friday. Right, the only issue is you're accepting right into this, right, which is sort of why I had that level highlighted, right, which is the lowermost shelf of this balance here, and then sort of where the volume starts to taper off here, right, the uppermost shelf up here of this balance. So Friday's high got put in relatively close to where I expected it to. Unless we can start trading over it, can't really be bullish. And even then, you still got 320s, right, which isn't even your open on that sell-off day, which is even a little higher. It's a lot of levels for bulls to get through. Nothing within Thursday and Friday's range, except for sort of the lower levels we saw, which, might be looking to get involved for a little scalp, right? Spike there. But I do still think, with the election coming up, we're going to be trailing a little lower, right? Whether that's to the composite, right? 940, 950, or this little pivot high and sort of this lowermost end of this balance. This level still irrelevant. This one's still relevant. But yeah, main focus Monday is just inside day. Just play the inside day. Just watch the high and low. And don't fade it. Just play the direction of the break, right? And unless it fails, and by fail I just mean, you do a little look below and reclaim that level and get long, target the opposite end. The look belows and fails, whatever you're talking about, whether it's an inside day, inside week, balances, or my favorite play. Only because failed bullish moves make for great bearish moves, and failed bearish moves make for great bullish moves. And we had one recently, actually. Inside day, look below. Yeah, this one. Right, where you had that. Okay. Inside day, look below and fail. You also had, right, the pivot into the week, essentially. Right, because of this balance high, and then you had the uppermost shelf of this. And these two sessions were really the first time you actually spent entire sessions trading above 500. I know what you closed down here, but ended up bidding, right? And if you just take a look at the past profiles, this is the first time you really spent two entire sessions above, right? Every attempt over it has been weak and failed back here. Aside from this one session on the breakout, but then fails, right? So we were ready for this, but it's just an example of, how powerful an inside day failure, or break of the inside day failure is, or break and fail rather. You break below that low, reclaim it, and just get long till at least the opposite end, maybe even higher. Then we're gonna make I thought so too. Right. I think I talked about it that week of this being the pivot because of this stuff back here, and then if we're gonna be bid here, let's go make new all-time highs. I thought we were really gonna do it. But pretty darn simple, I would say, in terms of levels. It's just the volatility. It's just gonna take us somewhere crazy, right? So just be prepared for that. Be ready to just think on the fly if you do want to get in trade. We have levels established, but you just never freaking know, right? And some of these levels within here I'll have on my chart just to sort of know where we are. But like I said, the main important levels are, we start giving this low up, and especially this shelf up, and all I really watch now are basically these prior areas of value. Right? There's nothing significant to me within this area that really catches my eye, except for, this is like I have this labeled S, but that would be something I do not want to give up, because that's arguably the biggest shelf of this year. All right, if we go back to January, all right, it's a little different from ES in that you have one main distribution here. That's your uppermost end. There's your lowermost end. And all this is just some more short-term things, and maybe you say we're trying to make form distribution up here. It hasn't really come to fruition yet. Actually, let's see. Yeah, you're attempting to. So that'll be it on NQ. YM I don't really trade too often, but mentioned on Friday this rejection off of the point of control up here was not good. So likely trades back down to this, and I think it should be a roll gap, right? Yeah, basically a roll gap. But I don't know anyone who trades YM in here. I mean, I've put on like probably 3 trades on it this year. Most of them swing long. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to this. RTY is an interesting one. The rate cut this week. Oh, it's most definitely headed lower. I know last week I said this was your area to short, right? Either 2260 or 2277 sort of ends up playing out. Hasn't really seen the ultimate downside target yet, which is shelf on the composite. Maybe you got no sort of a load down there. I think this trade's lower. We'll see this, and it's just a matter of what you do then. Right, as a bull, yeah, I know it's a slow long sometimes, but if we can be a bit off of here, maybe do a look below and then reclaim it. Yeah, I'll be swing long into end of the year. Maybe a little longer. Maybe I put on maybe not the December cons, but the what is it, the March ones. So that's it on the futures. Equities, we have I have a comment on YouTube. Bitcoin. Okay, we'll do Bitcoin first then. We'll go over gold and crude on here, but your last little area of consolidation, at least on the daily. I think it trades a little lower. Well, Bitcoin should go crazy during the election now. Yeah, I think this becomes your main focus and pretty darn simple. Really not too many places to watch. You give up the lower end of this. Right, let's just call it 68,000. Just I wouldn't try to buy the dip. Alright, now you tested these last couple of pivot highs, but I mean, it might make sense to be bid off of those, but I'd just pay attention to more of the bigger picture. Alright, if it trades 6,400 or 64,000, I'd definitely be bid there. I don't trade Bitcoin, but for those that do, maybe you play MSTR coin or whatever it is. Someone was talking about gold earlier. Gold, you just don't want to be on the short end of it, right? Unless you start seeing some things. There was like one short I put on during FOMC, which did really, really well, but or the last FOMC. Since then, I've not touched gold. Only because I don't like longing gold. Gold really just changed. Well, it really started to get going once the U.S. froze Russia's assets. First off, I think that was the first big thing. Maybe that sort of thing comes to an end with Trump, but who knows? Just profile wise, I thought we'd like. Was this your last FOMC? I think so, yeah, because I shorted 25.20. Was it 20? What was it? Up here. I shorted for a day and then the next session it just popped right back up. I forget where I shorted. It was, I think I just shorted the 100% extension of this balance here. Oh, yeah, no, it was up here. Yeah, I quite literally just shorted the 2620s. Just rode this down and then next session just miraculously popped back up. Yeah, you play short side on gold and you just have to work with what you're given each and every session. Right, like I think now you have a good chance for it to finally top out. At least in the near term. It just badly just wants to go back into here. Right, if you do get a chance for it to uh, if you do get a bounce, it's going to be aggressive. I think election FOMC, this thing is going to get pretty darn wild. If you do any kind of, let's say you do trade back up to 57.70, you do a little look above and fail, I would be heavy short and swing short too. Right, if I'm swing short this, my main target would just be this. Alright, so ideally I'd actually like it for it to pop back over and fail 70 and just be shorted. No, you'd think Delta candles are great in trading view. I haven't tested them out. I would not want to test it out. I'd rather just watch Sierra. CL, I might get involved in this week if NQ. Because NQ longs, I don't think are going to work early in the week. So maybe I get involved on this Sunday or Monday on crude for another leg lower. I think all you did Friday was just pop back up to this and utterly fail, right? Trying to hold on to that lower end. some weak lows there. Guess try a scalp along there, but I'd actually be more interested in shorting it into this. What is that, like a 30 tick range? About 30 ticks. Right, and then the off chance you do, let's say, just get some strength or you get another headline, I'd be short 73. I mean, my long-term level on frickin' CL is still 58, 57. I think that's where it trades down to. Who do you trade if Kamala wins? Oh, I have no idea. I just trade levels. I rarely try to play macro. I'll take note of it, but macro is the freaking toughest thing to trade. I have no freaking idea how the market's gonna react. Depending on election results. My ledges. That just takes time, right? But I mean, sometimes they make it easy. All right, we'll just do it on here. All right, if I do I have a session volume profile here? Doesn't really help. So let's just take a look at ES on a daily. All right, since we're just back, it's kind of tough. There are too many ledges here, are there? So that's why I say it takes some time to sort of just watching to sort of master it, but let's just say on this up leg. All right. Where is your ledge? I would say like down there. I mean, you don't want to, it's tough when you get something that looks like this, it's easy to, you might have that marked off, but it's really just where you have the sharpest fall off in volume, right? You could say it's a relatively slow taper off into here and then abruptly falls off after this. That's sort of where I would mark it off. Maybe for up here, like up there. Or up there, but it'll come with time. Sometimes they make it easy, sometimes they don't. I mean, you can do most of what I do on Sierra with just TradingView. Right. I think settings are pretty simple. I just have it at 250. That's, I think, the only one you have to change. Right. And you know, in trading, you might not get the exact level, but the idea is going to be there, right? Like going into, let's say, Thursday, Friday. Right. As you leave this area of value, your main focus just shifts to that, right? Maybe have it down there at that shelf, but you know, so if you came to me and said you wanted to long 57.90s, I would have, you know, I would have told you to go for it, right? Because I wonder how that level did. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a decent reaction, right? Or at least pretty darn close to it. You know what, about a point off, or a 10-point move. But it's just going to take time to master. And I'd say just looking at it and then piecing together sort of the bigger picture idea is a little more important. What was I going to take a look at? Dude, I don't trade currency. There's no freaking way you want me to chart 6E. What's 6E? Oh, euro. I don't even know if a volume profile works on this. Probably more helpful to watch the dollar. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about the freaking euro. You're trading in the range and you're smack dab in the middle of it. Actually, it looks like it wants to go lower. Yeah, chart wise, yeah, I'd just be short if it stays below this. What is that? 896, 897. And just target these most recent lows, I think. What were we gonna look at? Oh, this. Okay. So breadth-wise, still doing pretty darn well. 200-day moving average, you're still sitting up here in like bull territory, and each time you've come down here, at least this in the entirety of this year, you've gotten bought up, right? So I'd watch this like 65, 64 mark on this. I know on the shorter term moving average, you're sort of come down to somewhat of a key pivot. You know, this year you've sort of been sloping up on this and making new highs. Not yet at the oversold reading, but coming back down to these most recent pivot lows. So you know, maybe another sell-off for like a day or two would be nice. And 20 days should be, yeah, just give it another day or two, right, before this thing sells off to these lows. Right, if you just overlay the SPY with this, it does a decent job of, you know, giving you some pivot highs, pivot lows, and sort of places where you want to maybe consider start buying the dip, right? When you start getting oversold ratings on this, you know, it's not going to help when you go into a market crash, but you know, how many times does that happen? Your bond volatility is also at a pretty important pivot high, I would say, or coming up to one. This one, I think it's coming up to even more important pivot high. Right, these last couple times you've pivoted off of some really important pivots in the past, but you're over that and sort of unlikely headed up to here. If when this starts turning down, I would like this to start. Well, actually, I'd like it to pop up for another day or two. I think I want indices to sell off a little bit more. But this, I think this one actually does an even better job of marking off pivot lows, pivot highs. Right, if you just watch this start to turn down, you know, decent place to start getting back into equities, right? When you never know when it's gonna start turning down, but you know, these last couple times on these short little spikes, got pretty darn close to marking off your pivot lows, right? Sometimes they're not on point, and sometimes bonds front run it a little bit. So if this can start turning down, maybe you get another day or two of sell-offs in equities, indices, and maybe start popping back up, or maybe this pops for another day or two and get the rally in equities a couple days later. Individual things, there's not much I'm looking forward to. Apple, this looks pretty darn hideous. Looks like Apple's on its way down to like 210. And you sort of got propped back up. You could argue that you have two distributions here and sort of tried bouncing off. You had earnings on it not too long ago, so I would just watch the earnings view up. And just make sure this starts staying above this. Oh, the NVIDIA got accepted into the Dow on Friday, huh? Fridays or Thursdays lows got put in right at that second shelf. I would have liked it to hold a 135. I guess Friday it held 135. Decent look there. But I think it may be on its way back down to 129. chart pattern wise, you typically don't want to see anything that looks like this. I'd prefer to see higher highs and this pivot be defended, or at least a little higher, like here. But it wouldn't necessarily fit along with at least the rest of the biases I have of equities trailing a little lower into the election. But yeah, this chart does not look doesn't look great. We can't bid 130. Where is that, 130? Yeah, like 129s. If we start accepting below 129s, I might have to get out of my NVIDIA equity. I have a cost basis at 110. What are my thoughts about SMCI? I think I had a limit order set. I ended up taking it off. Should I be buying it? Chart wise, it's a place to be buying. Right. 25 is as low as you want it to go, though. I think you just buy 25 or 24 if you're gonna buy it, but this one's a scary one, dude. When your auditor does you like that, especially EY, there's something wrong. I could have been so short this, by the way. My brother works at EY. But I just couldn't. It risks his job and fucking jail time for me. That one's clear as day. Yeah, no. I can't. I couldn't. I couldn't even mention it. Yeah, I'm like, I was tempted to buy it Thursday, started trailing up Thursday, and then I just took the limit off on Friday or before Friday. I know Mr. Trendsetter, I think, started some swing calls on this light. It was like a lotto, but yeah, this is the only place I'd consider it. It's risking getting delisted. Never a place you want to be. AMD approaching 140. Was 140 the place I wanted to buy? Oh, I forget. AMD had a shit show of an earnings. semis will do historically well after the election. So, it's someplace you might want to look into. Only issue is, like, are people really going to be paying attention to AMD when Google comes out with stellar earnings? Although, you got a decent reaction the first day. And right now, most of the talk's about data centers, right? So I don't know if, you get a report like that from Google, a decent one from Amazon, a good one but awful reaction from Microsoft. I don't know if you're gonna get. Yeah, if anything, yeah, 139 is last place I'd attempt it. If not, it's back on its way to that freaking. Down here 120. None of these big names are at a price I want to freaking chuck money at. That's the issue with these. Right? Like, yes, I can swing trade them for a week, a month. The only ones I'm like, I've started a position or have a position in is Microsoft and NVIDIA. Right? Like, I think NVIDIA is on its way to like 170. Right? And we've essentially done exactly what we want week by week and month by month. Right? And once we made this pivot low, or at least this one and this one, all we've done is just hold these anchored VWAPs and then held value. Right? Microsoft, they're a little bit lagging in the software place, but this one's upsetting to see. I mean, I have a cost basis at like 419 because I started in October, traded added down to 410. Right, 408 was sort of like the level I was watching, and freaking earnings trades it right back down to that. It's a little infuriating, but I still do like it if we're gonna hold this, although I may have to give it like one more add a little lower. Down at like 403. Use monthly VWAP bands at all? No, I don't. I only use the anchored VWAP. And, either anchor them at pivots or an earnings release. I actually really like the earnings one. I've made a couple of my plays based off of it. I think the most recent one was Snow. They're kind of failing it. I think Snow, where was your last set of earnings? Now I like to give it a little bit of time before I start using this. I don't really use this for like a week or two. Once you start getting over, it might trick you a couple times here and there, but I started my position back in here. At least my equity position, it did well for a couple days, but I think the earnings from last week sort of threw a lot of these names off a bit off track. But I still do like Snow holding 115, 114. So that was the equity play. I think the most recent one I grew on. Charter did well. We started that position on this Monday. Had decent earnings, but I like Charter for much higher, so I'm gonna continue holding on to it. Is there anything else in particular I was looking at? I don't think there was. I would still be long. I'd still look to buy dips. And I think the dip this week is gonna be the one big one to be buying. So Microsoft and NVIDIA I'm already positioned for. Amazon, I really don't want to be buying into the high. You know what? I'll put on the AMD position. 139. I think my cost basis is 110 on AMD. Or like 115. It used to be 90 or 95, but then I added up here. Are there any other names anyone had questions on? So I think main, at least my main idea or thesis is just let it trail down a little lower or a lot lower. But I'm gonna be ready to buy the dip after the election. Right. If we trade down to, wherever we may be by Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning or Tuesday night on futures, wherever it may take us, I'm going to be looking to buy the dip. But I wish I could have played out the idea into Friday, which was just be short into these freaking levels and just hold swing shorts, but I woke up late. Oh, and Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be out of town, so I'm going to miss FOMC. I have to be positioned before then because I don't know if I want to. I don't think I can be around Thursday at all. I might be. Let's see. Okay, I gotta be out at 10 o'clock. But that's Hawaii time. And they don't do daylight savings. I gotta check up on their hours. I might be like around Thursday, but I gotta be for sure out by 10 a.m. Hawaii time. That might be noon here. Noon or 1 o'clock. We'll see. You want me to short or long before FOMC? I'm probably gonna be long before then, just hopefully lower. Just hold some swing longs, but that'd be the best case scenario. If it dips lower, I don't know. I guess I'll have to react to it and trade that. But yeah, it's gonna be very, very volatile and crazy. It should be fun. Every darn election is crazy, so it should be a lot of fun. Oh, for you guys that aren't on the premium side, Minxie's doing a thing. I don't know if you saw, but she just used a prop firm. There's like 3 prop firms you can do this with, but if you just use her code, we're giving you premium for free. And it might be longer than a month, by the way. We're just trying it out for a month. And it might be a permanent thing, so I think all you have to do is submit a support ticket, and then I think she'll walk you through it. But pretty sweet deal. You know, if you use, I actually personally don't really like the prop firms that she chose. But, you know, if you just want premium, just get an Apex account for $20 with our code, and then, you know, you get free premium for a month, maybe even longer actually, because like I said, we're doing it for a month or two, and then maybe we make it a permanent thing. All right, anyone have any other questions, comments, concerns? Then I will wrap it up. Put this out in text later. And we'll get going. So, no trades for me on Sunday as per usual, unless we really get moving somewhere. Then maybe I get involved, but it's gonna take quite a bit of a sell for me to get involved. So, on that note, I will catch you all on Monday.